I don't know of any rivalry in this state that's any bigger or more intense than the rivalry between Beverly and Salem. And I often wondered, there's a lot of rivalries. You got Lynn English, Lynn Classical, a lot of them right here on the North Shore alone. But there's something special about that Beverly-Salem rivalry. I don't know if it's the bridge that connects the two towns or just the fact that it is Beverly and Salem. And it's been going on for years, since before the 1900s, over 100 years, I believe now, if I'm not mistaken. And it just was, that was it. When you were growing up in my era, the big thing was to someday to be able to go out for Beverly High School football. Well, that was your first big thrill. And the next one would be to participate in that Beverly-Salem game, and that turkey tasted an awful lot sweeter when you won. You know, it was just a wonderful, wonderful experience.
To me, it was kind of like, you know, watching these teams now in the Super Bowl. The night before, you can hardly think or sleep, and, you know, you get butterflies and chills, and, you know, just knowing you're going to go out there in front of thousands and thousands of people, and, you know, the expectations, it's just so exciting. You get so pumped up that, you know, sometimes you just have to be settled down. I mean, it's really, really exciting. And once you get on that field and you look in the stands and you look around and you see 10,000 people watching you, and you know, you get out there with your teammates and everyone's screaming and yelling and the coach is really up for it. It's just such a different feel than any other ordinary game. I mean, it was the big game. It was the Super Bowl of Beverly High School.
Well, it's something that was very special, and I don't think is ever going to change. And even though may not be as many people that go to the games these days, there's always people that are going to remember that game for what it is. I hope that when my son plays, it'll still be the same tradition, because there's nothing else like it. I know that no matter how good of a team Salem had, they were ready to play that day. Ken Perrone, who coached Salem when I played against them, always had his team ready to play, and it certainly was a great coach. And there were times, you know, we won my sophomore year, we lost a really heartbreaking game my junior year, and my senior year they beat us again when we really had a much better team than they did. And that's because it didn't matter. It didn't matter who had the better team. It was Thanksgiving Day, it was Beverly-Salem, and everybody was up for that game.
But I tell you, it was just a thrill to be a part of it. And I can go on to say that in the next 2 years, we made up for that. We won the next 2 years, my junior and my senior year, and I like to feel that I played an important role in both those games. I was fortunate enough to have started in all three of them. I started on defense in 49 and both ways in 50 and 51. And of course, my brother after me, my brother Skooma, he played in 3 teams, and all 3 of his teams beat Salem. And then my brother Bippy, my youngest brother, all 3 of his teams. Matter of fact, I don't think Salem even scored. Yeah, they did. They scored 1 touchdown in 3 years against my brother Bippy. The first year, Bippy won 7-6. They won the state championship that year. They almost pulled an upset that year, his sophomore year. And then I had my sons. And it was a thrill to watch them participate, and I know it must have been a big thrill for them to be a part of this tradition that, as far as I'm concerned, is one of the greatest high school Thanksgiving Day rivalries anywhere in the state, and from where I sit, anywhere in the country.
The biggest thing I remember is the people, just so many people in the stands that day. And unlike my dad's era and my uncles, because I have seen the tapes of them play, they got those kind of crowds week in, week out. And it was really something to be out there in front of thousands and thousands of people. And the biggest thing I remember is, even with all those thousands and thousands of people, I still heard my grandfather's voice over everybody else screaming to hit somebody. So.
But as far as, you know, just mentally getting up for the game, there was no problem. I mean, the game brought it all on itself. The intensity, the excitement, the fans, just the fact that you were going to go out there and be out there Thanksgiving Day game, on a Beverly High game, with all the fans watching, just got you psyched for the game.
And I guess that all stems from my grandfather, who I believe threw me my first pass when I was about 6 years old, and threw my dad his first pass, and my son, he's getting ready to throw him his first soon too. So, but that tradition was instilled in me at a very young age.
People always say, you know, your dad was a great football player, you know, your uncles were great football players, your brother was a great football player. I mean, I was playing in that atmosphere was a little tough. It really was, but I could only do the best that I could do. I never let that inhibit me or stop me from doing anything, but I always looked up to him. No matter what, I could always walk around with my head high because I was a Manuel and I played football in Beverly.
In 1949, in that infamous game, on the opening play of the game, little Bobby Hayes played right halfback, and we had Billy Ransom, who was all everything. One of the greatest running backs ever to come out of Beverly High School, Billy Ransom. He played left halfback. Mickey Abate was the quarterback, and the coach said, you know, we had a play that was called SL 17 and a half, and you faked to Billy Ransom, diving into the line, and the whole world and the fans and everything emptied out and goes on him, and then you hand off to little Bobby Hayes, who was as fast and quick as a rabbit, and bingo, he goes 65 yards for a touchdown on the first play of the game. I think some of the Salem fans were getting up and leaving the stands then. They thought it was going to be a blow-up.
My senior year, Beverly was never a passing team. Our starting quarterback was Pat Barrett, who was a year under me. Great, great athlete. We also had another gentleman by the name of Michael Bates, who very, very good athlete. His first year playing was his senior year. He played tight end. So no one ever expected Beverly to throw the ball. We came out the first play of the game that we got, and we threw what was a tight end flare. Then that's where the quarterback stepped back. He took one step, threw the ball to the tight end, streaking down the field. It went for about 60 yards. The opening play on Thanksgiving, that was, you know, one of the highest moments. That and when the final buzzer went off in the game.
I saw the films of my dad and my grandfather, my uncles play, and I knew how good they were, and that was a little something to live up to. But I think that when I played, there were a lot of other players in that same boat. Billy Hamer, who I played with, his dad was a great player. John Abate, whose father, Mickey, was a great player. Many, many others. The Hayes brothers, whose dad was also a good player. And so, you know, I wasn't alone in that situation. And I think, you know, it actually pushed us all to play a little bit better.
This is my sophomore year, and they had just they had come down and scored and tied the game up, and then they stopped us. There was a fumble or something of that, and they got the ball back. And it was third down and about 5 or 6 yards, and they were in that ridiculous spread formation that they went into. And they went back and they fired a pass. I intercepted it and brought it back about 25 yards. And that was a big thrill for me. It was a big thrill for me. I covered an awful lot of ground. I probably should have cut upfield a lot sooner than they did. But people tell me that I know every single inch of Herd Stadium because I ran as many yards back and forth as I did, east and west as I did, north and south. Yeah, this was in the, we finally figured in that game that we finally got it together, and now we're going to start to gel again. They had done a good job at stopping Billy for the most part. They really stacked up the defenses against him. So we split them out, and they used them on what is called a K pass, or a Kelleher pass, or a Casares pass. And Billy went down into the middle and broke it off to the sideline. He caught a perfect pass from Mickey Abate, who threw it right on the money. And he had one man to beat, and well, just watch the clip. This guy here, you're lucky if he's still got his underwear on after Billy dekes him out and goes by and into the end zone. Pinky Scovey was a running back. His name was Charlie, like mine. They used to call us the Charlie Boys, Mr. Left and Mr. Right, and he was one. I felt so proud to be able to play next to one of the greatest little running backs ever to come out of the Beverly High School. I think I don't know if I told you, Pinky and I, it was the only time that the McLean Trophy was shared by two players for the outstanding player in the Thanksgiving game. Pinky takes the ball on a middle trap. He heads straight up the middle of the field, dekes out the safety man and cuts it to his right and in the end zone. Just a beautiful run. Gorgeous blocking in there by the likes of Tony Petrini and Bob Matson and Wallace, junior halfback that played. Outstanding block, an outstanding run, and outstanding results. In this particular play, Freddie Cannavale takes it on a reverse and trips over a blade of grass out there somewhere and probably could have gone the distance. He was only a sophomore, a junior at the time. And they lost that game, not because Freddie tripped, but Coach Walsh, in his infinite way, blamed it on the black uniforms, and he put them back in the case, and they've never been used since. They're still in the case from which they come to this very day. And those black uniforms were never used in another game. Harry, I always like to preface talking about Harry Ball, who played with my brother Scoomer in the same backfield with Scoomer. Harry was all everything. I always like to preface it by saying Harry was not only one of the best and one of the great running fullbacks ever to come out of the school's history, but he was one of the nicest boys you could ever want to meet. He was an outstanding student, and he was an outstanding individual. Harry was a wonderful, wonderful boy, died much before his time, unfortunately. And his father was also a great athlete and one of the founders of the Beverly Sports Club, which is so supportive of Beverly High School football and sports today. But this clip here shows you, here's a boy in those days, a 240-pound, 230, 240-pound fullback. And back in those days, Harry played in 55, 56, 50, I think it was 53, 54, and 55, the seasons of. And this is Harry in a Beverly Salem game. I don't know if this is a pass interception or if he's taking it right up the middle and going all the way for a touchdown. But that is it was an outstanding play. A guy this big, and he had speed. He had good speed. Here's someone else that you don't see anyone running him down from behind. And when he got up ahead of steam, no one wanted to be in front of Harry Ball.
You can never get that feeling back. You know, you had that feeling when you were out there. I mean, when, you know, my dad used to tell us stories about, you know, when he played it and all the people and how exciting it was, and then watching my brother playing it. And then when I finally got to play in it, that's when the moment really hit you. I look back now and, you know, it just doesn't feel the same. I mean, I go to games now and I see a lot of people, and the intensity, it doesn't feel the same as if you were on the field actually being a part of it.
But you can't get those days back. And the bad thing is you don't realize it when you're that age. You don't realize it till years after. I was fortunate enough to play a couple more years in college when I got out at Norwich and Curry. But once you're done playing that game, it's like no other game because you can't go out and play it. It's like you can get in a rec basketball league, you can get in a ref softball league, but there's no way to play football after your school days are done, unless you make the pros, which obviously not too many people do. But you really miss it, and I'm sure I'd love to go out and play again.
My heart is always going to be with Beverly. They've had some problems, but they got enough. I understand they got another. Beverly can always come up with these great backs.
Shares, calls the signals. This time he pitches to Moore. They're going around the right side. Moore still on his feet. He's at the 20, the 15. He's going to go all the way. Touchdown, Beverly, on the second play from scrimmage. The Panthers go 51 yards in 2 plays. Eugene Moore going all the way in for the score, and Beverly is on top 6-0.
Excellent. They're starting off great on defense and offense.
A senior usually comes to the front in one of these games and leads the way and carries it. And records don't mean anything in a game like this. Beverly can win this one, and my heart and I'm a Beverly High guy. What can I tell you?